this is going to help you work through your Tonesavvy Intervals Level 3 assignment. What we have here is a picture of a note, and they ask up here for an interval. To help you, I've pulled up something from musictheory.net and put it alongside of the Tonesavvy assignment so we can count half steps to find intervals. So your first note is a D, and they're asking for a perfect fourth. Perfect intervals are easier because you can count line space, line space. So we start here and we count a fourth. And when we count line space, we count the first note. So we would count D, E, F, G. D, E, F, G. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect fourth would be G. Make sure that you have the natural button pushed here in the flat natural sharp area. And there's your first correct response. Perfect octave from C. An octave up from C is 8 notes, and it is another C because an octave is the same note name as the note that's below it. If we look over here next to it on musictheory.net, you can see that a perfect 8 is made up of 12 half steps. And this one was starting on C, and you notice they start counting the half steps after your initial note. So one way I think that will help you, especially if you have keyboard knowledge, is to use a keyboard. And the musictheory.net actually has a keyboard up in its upper right hand corner that you can pull up and work through. So your first note would be C. We'll start with C4, middle C. That would be your starting note, so you count 12 steps up from there. So you don't count the C, but you count the next note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There it is, C to C, 12 half steps. Next note, ascending perfect fifth. Again, perfect intervals are easier because you can count the first note and just count line space up to 5. So start on the line, count it as 1, space 2, line 3, space 4, line 5, B natural. E, F sharp, G, A, B would be going up that from E to B. E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B would actually be in an E scale. There we go. Next one would be a perfect fourth from A. So let's do it that way again. Start with A, count it 1, B2, C3, D4. And it's also going to be a natural, so we'll leave the natural bar down. E, we want a major third. This one's trickier, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. A major third is made up of 4 half steps. C to E is a major third, but E to G sharp is a major third, and that's the case here. Here's an E. Why? Because you're starting on E, and then you count up from E. The next note would be 1 half step, 2 half steps, 3 half steps, 4 half steps. Takes you to G sharp. Let's do it on the keyboard. First note's E, so you count half steps above that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Comes out to be G sharp, so we need to make sure to press that sharp button there and push the G. Makes it G sharp. Ascending major 7th. Looking over here on the musictheory.net, it tells you a major 7th is made up of 11 half steps. C to B or D to C sharp. Now sometimes it helps to go in reverse order just to find note names, because look at this. Here we're starting on C to find a major 7th. One way to find a 7th is just to go to the scale note below it, which would be a B. But if you don't want to do it that way, you can always do the 11 half steps. So here's C. You don't count that one because you count the next note up when you're counting half steps. So here we go. From C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that would be B natural, white key. I'm on the sharp box over here in the Tonesavvy, so I need to push it back to B natural. And there it is. The next thing they're asking for is ascending major seventh from A. We just did an ascending major seventh, and we counted up 11 half steps. So let's start it on A, and we'll count 11. From A, there's your A, starting on the B flat. That's the next pitch up, counting up 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. A to G sharp. I need to push the sharp button to make sure I get it correct. And there that one is. Now, the way that we know that it's a G sharp and not an inharmonic spelling is that it needs to be a half step away from the next note. And sharp keys, usually your last sharp is the seventh note in the scale. So most of the time if you see a natural and you're finding something that's a sharp above it like a seventh, it will usually be a sharp. We may talk about that later. That doesn't really totally apply to this too much. So let's keep moving. I have 7 completed. I'll do 3 more. We're looking for an ascending perfect octave. Again, it's a perfect interval. You can start on a note and just count. An octave is the same as an 8, a perfect 8, right? So you could count 12 half steps, but that's a lot of half steps. I'd rather count 8 line space steps, since it's a perfect interval. So, and you start on the starting note when you count perfect intervals. So start with a D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. D to D. Make sure I've got my natural button pressed. Press that D. Okay. Ascending major seventh again. Let's go back and do that. Major seventh's made up of 11 half steps. So C to B would be a major seventh, and also D to C sharp is a major seventh. And you see this is a D. And the way you find that is count 11 half steps up after the D. Let's do it on the piano over here. There's your D, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Looks like it's a C sharp. So I need to push my sharp button over here and align it to the C sharp in gray. There it is. One more. Ascending perfect fifth. Just for fun, I'll count the half steps on it. So F, you need to have what? 7 half steps? Let's work through it. F, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. F to C. One way I like to do it, as I've said, is count the first note and just count line space 5, since it's a fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. C. I need to come back and press my natural note. And there it is. Hopefully this helped you, and we'll see you next time.